The memory loss that shows up in someone's 70s does not begin in their 70s. It begins quietly, decades earlier, in the 40s and 50s, in the small daily choices nobody thinks are a big deal. And what sits on your fork 3 times a day is one of the loudest of those choices. I am Dr. Hale. In my 15 years in internal medicine, I have sat with families on the worst day, the day a sharp, funny parent no longer knows the names of their own grandchildren. And I have also watched people in their 80s stay bright, quick, and fully themselves. The difference is never one single thing, but food is one of the few levers you hold in your own 2 hands, starting with your very next meal, at any age you happen to be watching this. Here is what I want you to hold on to for the next few minutes. There is no miracle food. Nobody blueberry, no magic fish, no bottle of anything is going to save your memory by itself. That is the honest truth. And any channel that tells you otherwise is selling you something. What actually protects your brain is a pattern, a handful of ordinary foods eaten steadily over years. Today I am going to count down the 7 with the strongest real science behind them, from number 7 all the way to number 1, and number 1 is the single most powerful of them all, backed by one of the clearest findings in the whole field, and it is the one most people over 40 are simply not eating enough of. Stay with me to the end for that one. But first, let me give you the 3 ideas that tie all 7 together, because once you understand these, you will never forget why any of these foods matter. Your brain is a small, greedy, high-performance engine. It is about 2% of your body weight, and it burns around 20% of your energy. An engine that hungry needs 3 things to keep running clean. 1. Good blood flow, to deliver fuel and oxygen through tiny, delicate vessels. 2. Low inflammation, because chronic inflammation is like rust slowly eating at the wiring. And 3. Steady blood sugar, because sharp spikes and crashes damage those same tiny vessels and stress the brain over time. Blood flow. Inflammation. Steady blood sugar. Every food on this list earns its place by helping with at least one of those 3. Keep them in mind and this all clicks together. And here is why this matters more with each passing decade. Starting in your 40s and 50s, all 3 of those defenses come under quiet pressure at once. Blood vessels get a little stiffer, background inflammation tends to creep up, and your body handles sugar less patiently than it did at 30. None of it hurts. None of it shows up on an ordinary day. That is exactly the problem, because the damage is cumulative and silent, and by the time memory itself slips, a lot of the wear is already done. Which is the whole reason food is such a rare gift here. It is one of the few things you can start today, at any age, that pushes back on all 3 at the same time, meal after meal, before anything ever goes wrong. Let us start the countdown. Number 7. Coffee and tea, in sensible moderation. I put this one first because it is the one people most want permission for, and the science is kinder than you might expect. A large study out of Mass General Brigham and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, published just recently, followed well over 100,000 people and found that moderate coffee or tea drinkers, in the range of 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day, had a measurably lower risk of dementia and slower cognitive decline than those who drank little or none. The people with the highest caffeinated coffee intake had roughly an 18% lower risk. Why? Coffee and tea are loaded with plant compounds called polyphenols that calm inflammation, and the caffeine itself seems to help the brain resist the sticky plaques tied to Alzheimer's. Think of a cup of real coffee or tea as a gentle rinse for the wiring, a little antioxidant bath. Now hear the honest part clearly. This is moderation, not a license. We are talking plain coffee or tea, not a bucket of caramel sugar with a splash of coffee in it. And if caffeine wrecks your sleep or spikes your blood pressure, this one is not for you. Because as you will see, Sleep protects the brain too. But if you already enjoy a couple of cups, enjoy them without guilt. Number 6. Beans and whole grains. This one rarely makes brain food lists, and that is a mistake, because it is the food most directly tied to our third lever, steady blood sugar. Beans, lentils, oats, barley, and true whole grains are packed with fiber, and fiber is what turns a fast sugar into a slow one. Remember, sharp blood sugar spikes damage the tiny vessels that feed your brain. Beans and whole grains are the brakes. Picture pouring sugar down a slide versus down a long, gentle ramp. The ramp lets your body handle every bit of it calmly. That steadiness, meal after meal, year after year, is quiet protection for the brain's blood supply. Beans and whole grains are also two of the core building blocks of the eating pattern that number 1 comes from, so think of this as the steady foundation the flashier foods stand on. A bowl of lentil soup is not exciting. Your brain in 20 years will not care that it was boring. It will care that it was fed. And there is a bonus you get for free. Fiber feeds the good bacteria in your gut, and a growing body of research ties a healthy gut to a healthier brain through the constant traffic that runs between the two. You do not need to follow every detail of that science. You just need to know that a plate built on beans, lentils, and real whole grains is quietly doing more than one good thing at a time. Trade white bread for a genuine whole grain. Add a can of beans to the soup. Small swaps, steady payoff. Number 5. Walnuts and other nuts. A handful of nuts a day is one of the simplest brain habits there is. Walnuts in particular carry a plant form of omega-3 fat, along with protein, healthy fats, and antioxidants that fight inflammation, our second lever. There is even a shape to remember it by, because a walnut famously looks a little like a brain, and for once the folk image points somewhere real. The evidence is encouraging without being oversold. A 2-year trial called the Walnuts and Healthy Aging Study, run across sites in California and Spain, gave older adults daily walnuts and found signs of slower cognitive decline, especially in those who started at higher risk. Nuts help steady your blood sugar when you eat them alongside a carbohydrate. They nourish the vessels, and they cool inflammation, so they quietly touch all 3 levers at once. A small handful, unsalted, most days. That is the whole instruction. If these first 3 are already changing what you reach for, do me a favor before we get to the top 4. Subscribe to Dr. Hale, and tell me in the comments how old you are and whether you are watching this for yourself or for a parent you love. I read every one, and knowing who is out there truly shapes what I make next. Then come right back, because the top 4 is where the science gets strongest, and number 1 is the one I most want you to hear. Number 4. Extra virgin olive oil. This is the fat I want you cooking and drizzling with, in place of butter, margarine, and mayonnaise. Extra virgin olive oil is rich in compounds that lower inflammation and support the health of your blood vessels, our first 2 levers working together. And the evidence here recently got hard to ignore. A study from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, published in 2024 in JAMA Network Open, followed more than 90,000 adults for 28 years. People who consumed at least half a tablespoon of olive oil a day had about a 28% lower risk of dying from dementia, compared with those who rarely or never used it. And swapping a small amount of margarine or mayonnaise for olive oil was linked with lower risk on its own. Picture the difference between pouring fresh oil into an engine versus letting old sludge gum it up. Extra virgin olive oil is the clean oil for the machinery of your brain's blood vessels. Buy the real thing, extra virgin, and use it as your everyday fat. Drizzle it raw over vegetables, whisk it into a simple dressing, cook your eggs in it. You do not need a fancy bottle or a special occasion. You just need to make it the default fat that lives on your counter, so the butter and the mayonnaise slowly fade into the background. This is one of the easiest high-value swaps in your whole kitchen. Number 3. Fatty fish, for the omega-3 called DHA. Here is a fact that still amazes me. Your brain is built largely from fat, and one particular omega-3 fat, DHA, is a main structural material of your brain cells. You are, quite literally, built partly from the fat in fish. When you eat fatty fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, or trout, you are handing your brain the raw material it uses to build and maintain its own cells and keep them flexible. DHA supports blood flow, cools inflammation, and helps keep the membranes of your brain cells supple so signals pass cleanly. Picture the difference between a fresh rubber band and one that has dried out and gone brittle. Supple cell membranes bend and fire and pass their signals cleanly. Stiff ones do not. DHA is a big part of what keeps them soft. Research collected by the National Institute on Aging and others links higher omega-3 intake from fish with better cognitive function and slower decline in many studies. I will be honest that the picture from omega-3 pills alone has been mixed and disappointing, which is a big reason I point you to the fish on the plate, not a supplement bottle. Aim for 2 servings of fatty fish a week. If you cannot stand fish, sardines on toast or salmon mashed into a salad are the gentlest ways in. If you build your brain from good material, it holds up better over the decades. That is not a slogan. That is the chemistry of the tissue. Number 2. Berries. Berries earn this high spot on the strength of one of the more striking findings in the field. Harvard researchers, using the long-running Nurses' Health Study, tracked thousands of older women for years. Those who ate 2 or more servings of strawberries and blueberries a week showed a slower rate of memory decline, delaying it by an estimated 2.5 years. That work was published in the Annals of Neurology. The magic is in the color. The deep blue, red, and purple of berries comes from flavonoids called anthocyanins, and these compounds are small enough to cross into the brain and gather in the very regions responsible for learning and memory. They fight inflammation and support the tiny blood vessels, our first 2 levers again. Think of berries as a fresh coat of protective paint on the parts of your brain that hold your memories. Frozen berries count, and they are cheaper, so there is no excuse about the season, a handful most days. And now, number 1. The single food with the strongest science behind it, and the one most people over 40 are not eating nearly enough of. Leafy green vegetables. I know, after coffee, olive oil, salmon, and berries, the top spot goes to spinach and kale, but the evidence demands it. Researchers at Rush University, led by Dr. Martha Claire Morris, built an eating pattern called the MIND diet, and when they followed nearly 1,000 older adults in the Rush Memory and Aging Project, one finding stood out above all the rest. Leafy greens were the strongest single food link to a sharper mind. People who ate about 1 serving of leafy greens a day had brains that tested, on average, like those of someone 11 years younger. Let that land. 11 years. From a food that costs a couple of dollars and cooks down to nothing, greens are dense with folate, vitamin K, lutein, and other compounds that fight inflammation and protect the delicate structures of the brain. And this is the very heart of the MIND diet pattern that ties this whole list together. This is why number 1 is number 1. And let me make it impossible to overthink, because this is where people quietly give up. A serving is not a giant salad you have to force down. It is a cup of raw greens, which is nothing once you see it, or half a cup cooked, which is a couple of forkfuls of wilted spinach. Spinach, kale, collards, arugula, romaine, chard, they all count. Wilt a handful into your scrambled eggs. Drop a few leaves into a smoothie where you will not even taste them. Pile them under whatever you are already making for dinner. It is not exotic, and it is not a project. 1 serving a day. If you take one single thing from this entire video, make it this. Let me put a face to all of it. I want to tell you about Louise, and I need you to know that Louise is a composite, a blend of many patients I have cared for, not one real woman. Louise came to me at 58, terrified. Her mother had developed dementia in her 70s, and Louise had started losing words mid-sentence and blanking on names, and she was convinced it had already begun for her. We checked the things that needed checking, and much of what scared her turned out to be stress, poor sleep, and a diet built almost entirely on refined carbohydrates and very little else. So we did not chase a miracle. We built the pattern. Greens most days, berries in the freezer, salmon twice a week, olive oil instead of butter, walnuts in place of the afternoon cookie, beans in her soups. And yes, she kept her 2 morning coffees. Nothing dramatic on any single day. But a year on, the word finding had eased. Her energy was steadier. And more than anything, her fear had turned into a feeling of control. She was not powerless anymore. She was doing something real, every single day, with a fork. Now the honesty this channel is built on, because you deserve it plainly. Food is prevention, not a cure. If someone already has dementia, no plate of greens reverses it, and I will never pretend otherwise. And no single one of these 7 foods is a shield on its own. It is the pattern, eaten steadily over years, that the research keeps pointing to. So please do not walk away thinking you can eat one perfect food and undo a decade of everything else. The power is in the collection and in the consistency. There are also warning signs that are not about slow prevention at all, and you need to know them. If memory changes come on suddenly, over hours or days, that is not normal aging, and it is an emergency. Sudden confusion, trouble speaking, weakness or drooping on one side of the face or body, a sudden severe headache or trouble walking can be signs of a stroke, and that is a call for emergency help immediately, because fast treatment saves brain. And if memory or thinking changes are getting clearly worse month over month or interfering with daily life, that deserves a real evaluation with a doctor, not a wait and see. Some causes of memory trouble, like thyroid problems, low B12, medication side effects, and depression, are treatable when they are found. So do not assume every change is permanent. Get it looked at. Everything I have shared today is education, not a prescription, and it is not a substitute for your own doctor, who knows your body and your history in a way the internet never will. So here is your simple plan to start this week, not someday. This week. 1. Eat 1 serving of leafy greens every day. This is the big one. Make it automatic. 2. Keep a bag of frozen berries and eat a handful most days. 3. Have fatty fish, like salmon or sardines, twice this week. 4. Switch your main cooking fat to extra virgin olive oil. 5. Grab a small handful of nuts, walnuts especially, instead of a sugary snack. 6. Build your meals on beans and whole grains to keep your blood sugar steady. 7. Enjoy your coffee or tea in moderation and protect your sleep while you do. Remember the 3 levers underneath all of it: blood flow, low inflammation, steady blood sugar. Every choice on that list is you pulling one of those 3, quietly, in your favor. Here is where I will leave you, with the thread for next time. We spent today on the foods that protect the brain, but there is a short list of everyday habits that appear to do the opposite, that seem to quietly age the brain faster, and some of them are things people do every single evening believing they are harmless, even relaxing. In my next video, I am going to walk through them one by one, so you know exactly what to watch for in your own routine. Whether you are 45 or 75, Your brain is more responsive to how you treat it than you have ever been told, and it is never too early and never too late to feed it well. The sharp, clear mind you want at 80 is being built at the dinner table tonight. I am Dr. Hale. Take care of yourself.